Welcome to my Symptom Wednesday, and today we're going to be talking about anxiety. Could be general anxiety, could be panic attacks, could be social anxiety, public speaking anxiety, driving anxiety, all of this from the advanced conversational hypnosis angle. So the first thing to say here is that I've been working with a lot of anxiety clients, and a lot of them come to me and they say that what they've done before, they had some tools to manage anxiety or panic attacks, and they've been using them tools successfully for a few months, whatever. But then them tools started to kind of fade away and stopped working. And why is that? And obviously they are now in even more frustration that, oh my God, nothing works for me. So first of all the tools that you give your client to manage their anxiety is very much conscious tools. It's going to be quite conscious tools, right? And we know that anxiety is the symptom. I don't know how many times I have repeated this, your client's problems are symptoms. And what we need to do, we need to dig into the root cause, the unconscious payoff, etc. So if the anxiety is the symptom, it's on the surface of your a conscious symptom, all right? So this is what your client understands about the problem, that it's anxiety, and you're giving them conscious tools to resolve that anxiety. However, the whole of the problem is unconscious. So if you try to resolve the unconscious problem with the conscious tool, it might help manage it for a while, but at some point that unconscious problem is gonna resurface again, and it's like something that they get used to. They've used this tool and they keep managing, and they get used to it and it stops working. So it's almost like almost like they develop some sort of antidote to that tool, right? Another thing that is happening is that they are managing the anxiety with them tools. What does that reinforce? That reinforces, I have an anxiety. That reinforces, I still need the tool to manage the anxiety. Because if the tool worked, once we've done it once or twice, it would have gotten rid of a real problem. But if they need to manage the anxiety and the symptom, it means that they haven't gotten to the real unconscious problem. So all of your calming, breathing exercises, everything, that's good in the moment to calm it down, but it's not gonna resolve the unconscious problem, because for the unconscious problem, you have to talk to the subconscious, to the unconscious. You have to actually get the subconscious mind to understand that it doesn't need to hold on to that anxious feeling anymore, to those panic attacks anymore, that there's nothing that is threatening, that is so unsafe for your client that they need that anxiety still. Because if the symptom persists, somewhere within their subconscious, there is some sort of a payoff for that symptom to persist. So trying to deal with the anxiety through the unconscious methods and tools and breathwork, etc., is almost like trying to fight the smoke while ignoring the fire. So smoke is your anxiety and the fire is the real problem. Where would you go as a fireman? You would go and get rid of a fire rather than try and get rid of a smoke and ignoring the fire. Maybe you need to get rid of some smoke to see that fire, maybe. However, you still need to deal with the fire. So how do you actually get to that unconscious payoff, and how do you talk with your client's subconscious mind? So if you're a hypnotherapist, you might be thinking, oh, I know how. I'm gonna put them under, I'm gonna take them through the induction, put them under. That's when I access the subconscious mind, and this is when I take them through the tool or framework and I give them suggestions, and that's fine. However, do you actually have that sort of like access to subconscious when you put them under hypnosis? Or do you even know that you have access? Because my clients, when they come to me, they said, I've tried traditional hypnotherapy, and they say, I don't, like, I have not felt hypnotized and nothing happened. Or they say like, oh, okay, it improved for a couple of days, but then it reoccurred. So how do you actually get reassurance that you are accessing the subconscious, that you are actually dealing with the root cause, rather than taking them through the tool or through the framework that assumes that you are talking to the subconscious mind, but maybe actually you're just talking to the client who's got their eyes closed, and that is all there is in there. So the way you access unconscious mind is through clients' unconscious moments. And this is something that I teach within advanced conversational hypnosis, that the unconscious is not constantly present, or is not constantly not present. Your unconscious mind, as well as your clients, are coming up to the surface, in and out, throughout all day long, right? And when the client comes to you with the problem, and when they are talking to you about that problem, you can actually see what part of this problem is unconscious. And if you don't know what I mean, you need to join my advanced conversational hypnosis training, because this is the gold that your client is giving you during the session. Any sort of spot of they get emotional, that's an unconscious moment. Or they are talking about something, and for a split second, they say something and they almost dismiss it. They're trying to run away from that. That is the thing that you need to focus on. You need to ask the question about that. You need to ratify that unconscious moment for the client to dig deeper. And once this is dealt with, once this is processed, you keep the conversation going, because you don't assume that this was it, unless your client is actually completely totally now anxiety free, then that's that. But your client will tell you that. And how do you know that? You ask them questions, how they are feeling now about that situation, what that causes them anxiety, about the emotions that come up with the anxiety, the thoughts and everything. And that's what we call testing. So this is how you make sure that your client is anxiety free at the end of your 1 or 2 sessions. So once you notice these unconscious moments, you dig in, and once they kind of come back up into the surface, they are made conscious, you keep the conversation going, and there's going to be another unconscious moment that you probably also need to notice and also need to dig in to resolve their anxiety issue. And this is throughout the whole session until the anxiety is not present anymore. So you're almost doing like 10 or 20 mini sessions with different loops and knots tied around that anxiety. As always, if you feel intrigued about what I told you, or if you feel like, oh my God, maybe this is something new and I don't know about this thing, drop me a DM and let's chat.